So I'm going to start with a question, okay? Just give me a thumbs up for yes, a thumbs down for no, thumbs in the middle for not sure. Do you think we can control our thoughts? What I believe is that we can't control our thoughts, but we can control what thoughts we choose to put energy into. So if you think about it, we get hundreds of thousands of subconscious thoughts every day. They just pop into our heads before we even really know about it. Everything we see, we smell, we touch, we hear, it all creates thousands and thousands of subconscious thoughts. We couldn't possibly consciously think about all of those thoughts. So those subconscious thoughts are all whizzing into our head, but we can consciously choose which thoughts we put energy into. And that's the really important bit. I'm going to keep talking this week about subconscious and consciously doing things. We have to consciously put effort into stuff to start creating some new habits and to start maybe finding some different perspectives. It's not just going to happen automatically. We've got to consciously do it. And it starts with your thoughts. So think of those thoughts being like actors on a stage. You're in the audience, but you're in control of the spotlight. So on that stage, you've got all the actors, and you've got some actors that are really funny, and they make you laugh, and they make you feel good, and you feel happy, and that kind of makes you feel confident and really positive. And there's other actors on the stage that are really sad and make you feel quite depressed and down and not great about yourself. They're all on the stage, but you've got control of the spotlight. You've got control over which actors you give a voice to. It's exactly the same with your thoughts. You're in control of which thoughts you shine your spotlight on. Now, I'm guessing that makes sense. Does it make sense? I'm also guessing it's not easy, is it? Because we get into habits sometime, and it's like the spotlight is automatically shining on the thoughts that aren't helpful for us. And it's like you've lost control of that spotlight. You haven't, it's got into the habit of shining in a certain direction. So we've got to work out how to take that control back so that you can consciously get hold of it and shine it on the thoughts that are going to help you feel better. So how do we do that? Everyone uses the internet. Yep, stupid question these days, isn't it? So when you want to find out information, what do? Google, yeah. So get Google search bar and you put into that search bar whatever you want to find information out about, yeah? Last night we were told by, who told us? Someone told us about some reading glasses for map reading. It was Rusty, that are like clear glasses, but when you look down at your map, you've got your reading glasses. So they're called reading safety glasses. So what did we do? Put it into Google. So, reading, I can never write quick enough. You put reading safety glasses in your Google search bar, what does it do?
Comes up, shows you results.
So it searches through all the millions and zillions of bits of information out in Google cyberspace, doesn't it? And it sends back information just related, excuse me, to what you've put in the search bar. And it ignores everything else. Yep. Well, here's the amazing thing, right? You have got your very own Google search bar in your brain. It's got a posh name. The posh name is the reticular activating system, or your RAS. But just think of it like a Google search bar, because that's exactly the job it does. So if you put in your search bar, I'm tired. Have I spelled tired wrong? Yeah. If you put in your search bar, I'm tired, what's it going to do?
Make you feel tired. Look for tired things.
It's going to send back all the information that tells you you're tired. But what it's also going to do is ignore all the information out there that tells you you're not. I'm going to prove to you that it works. So you've got 10 seconds to look around the room and see as many things that you can see that are blue. Count them to yourself, don't shout it out, just count to yourself. Go. Three, two, one. How many things did you see that were red?
One, because we weren't looking.
What you look for is what you see. So if you're telling yourself, I'm tired, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I can't do this, it's going to give you all the evidence that backs up what you're putting in your search bar. This is really relevant when you've been through trauma because, you know, we're all about being realistic. So if you've been through something traumatic, it's natural that you start looking for danger. So it's natural that you are going to put it in your search bar. So one example is someone who came on a program a couple of years ago. They'd been in a controlling relationship. They eventually managed to get out of it, but they'd had a pretty tough time with that. They then got into a new relationship, all going really well. And then one weekend, he decided he wanted to surprise her. So he packed all her cases and he booked a weekend and was going to take her away for a nice romantic weekend. Guess what she put in her search bar? Controlling. Because she felt like he was trying to control things by packing her suitcases, arranging something without asking her. So she kind of had, I mean, they split up, she had huge doubts. Good news is they got back together and they then got married, so she kind of worked it out. But that was what was happening. Because of what she'd been through, it was what she was looking for. She's doing it to protect herself. But it's something to be really, really aware of. What you look for is what you see. And what I would say is have a think about, what am I currently putting in my search bar? Today, like the weather is a perfect example. We were chatting about it this morning, George, weren't we? So do you sit here and go, it's raining, it's going to be wet, it's going to be cold, I don't want to go out, it's going to be pants? Or do you go, we've got waterproofs, I'm still lucky enough to be going out and doing a cool activity in an amazingly beautiful place. Both are true, but it's which you choose to shine your spotlight on, which you choose to put in your search bar. So understanding how the brain works is a really a good starting point for understanding how to take that control of that spotlight and start shining it in a different direction. I spent 15 years putting victim in my search bar. What happened? Put victim in my search bar. All it does is send me back all the information that reinforces the fact that I'm a victim. But here's the thing. When you think like a victim, you feel like a victim. When you feel like a victim, you behave like a victim. When you behave like a victim, it reinforces the thought that you're a victim, but also other people, when you behave like a victim, they treat you like a victim. So that continues to reinforce the thought and the belief that I am a victim. And you get into a real downward spiral. That's what I did anyway. And I got stuck in that for 15 years, believing I was a victim. When I started to understand this stuff, I made a conscious decision, and I'm back to that word, it had to be a conscious decision. It wasn't going to happen automatically, to change what I was putting in my search bar. And I made a conscious decision to put survivor in my search bar. Now, when I say survivor, I don't mean like, I'm a gladiator, you know. It's just about the opposite of being a victim. When I changed what I was putting in my search bar, I started to think like a survivor. Think like a survivor, you feel like a survivor. Feel like a survivor, you behave like a survivor. Behave like a survivor, people treat you like a survivor. And that spiral starts to go in an opposite direction. Over time, it then becomes quite easy. Not easy, easier, but it becomes a lot easier than it was when I was stuck here. I want to do something else, but before I do that, just take 2 minutes to just write down your thoughts on that. A couple of bullet points, your takeaway, like what's connecting with you. Just take 2 minutes. We'll come back to it in a bit. Has anyone seen this before? Yeah. Have you done CBT? So people quite often say it's CBT. I didn't even know that it was part of CBT. I just think it makes sense that they're all connected. The bit I kind of really love is the relationship between your thoughts, your feelings and your behaviours. So this in particular is a real two-way relationship. So your thoughts, as we've already talked about, affect how you feel. Yeah? 100%. How you feel affects how you behave. So it's a massive spiral. But here's the thing. Your thoughts aren't facts. Your thoughts are thoughts. They're not necessarily true. Holy shit. Because all of a sudden we realise our thoughts are impacting on how we feel. How we feel kind of influences our whole day and how we behave. And yet, our thoughts aren't facts. That's massive. So actually questioning your thoughts instead of just believing them is a really important tool to know. Is that really true? Where's my evidence? You know, so it's like, I can't do this. Where's my evidence? And there might be evidence, but then I'd also say, well, is there evidence of I can do this too? So someone give me a thought that's maybe holding them back. When I say right now, I don't mean this minute, I mean in life in general. It's on the spot a bit, isn't it?
What happens if I fail when I try to do something?
Okay, love it, perfect. Right, that's a thought. The one thing I would say is there's sort of quite a lot of exploring around that as a starting point, because, okay, where's the evidence that you will fail? Now, you might have some, you might not. But then say, okay, when have you not failed? When have you been successful? Where's your evidence for that? Right? And you will have evidence because you talked about your football this morning, right? So there's evidence there. So straight away, we can start questioning that thought. Well, what if I fail, but I might not? It's not a fact. It's not I will fail. There's a bit more exploring to do around the what if there, but the principle of it, do you get where I'm going with it? So we tend to believe our thoughts, but thoughts aren't facts. They're thoughts. That's life-changing. Second thing is our feelings, how we feel, affects our thoughts. This is the two-way thing. Now, how we feel is our environment around us, and that includes our relaxation. Oh God, I'm going to do our nutrition, movement. I'm going to run out of room here. Sleep. And let's get over here, relationships. Right, so that's our environment, yeah? That all affects how we feel. How we feel has a massive influence on our thoughts. But when you look at this, we are in control of most of this. So relaxation, how bad are we at making time for ourselves? Or sometimes we are too good at never leaving the house and staying in that comfort zone. So Relaxation and stress, I put them together because some levels of stress is good for you. That's stepping into your stretch zone. Nutrition, who controls what you put in your mouth? If you're eating shit, you will feel shit. Take control of it. Movement, who's in control of what movement, exercise we do? Now, obviously, things like injuries and stuff can come into it, but if you sit on your ass and don't do anything, you'll feel shit. If you feel shit, so we're in control of it. Relationships, I think, is always a slightly questionable one because sometimes we don't always have control of relationships, whether it be a work environment or a personal environment. You know, that's a pretty massive topic if you're saying, oh, actually, my work environment's not good, I need to change jobs, or my personal environment's not good, I need to change my relationship. Or sometimes it's just about realising that, you know, I love my job, that person's really annoying and I don't get on with him, but I can't change it. And so realising it, you know, so I sort of, it's why I've stuck this one out a little bit, because I think that's the only slightly questionable one on there. But all of these, sleep again is hard because sometimes you can't choose whether you fall asleep or not, but you can have a decent sleep hygiene regime. So, you know, no caffeine after 12 o'clock is a good, healthy sleep habit. Have decaf instead. You know, not sitting on your phone at night, like having a routine that you do before you go to bed to help you relax and go to sleep. There are lots of things you can do to help you sleep. Who gets stressed? Yeah? So our body can't differentiate between physical, emotional, and nutritional stress. And when we have any of those stresses, it produces a stress response in our body, which is cortisol. When our body produces cortisol, it pulls all the hormones from all the other parts of our body to kind of fuel the cortisol. I might not have got that scientifically right, but the principles, okay? To fuel the cortisol, which causes an imbalance in our body. That imbalance is what can start causing IBS, which is what happened to me. It can cause depression. It can cause all menopause. Like, it's the imbalance that is causing all of that sort of result. So quite often we get put on medication, don't we? To sort of try and sort it out. But actually what we need to be doing is balancing the body up. Sometimes, not all the time. Please don't all go off medication now and then I'll be getting sued for so like with stress, it's healthy to have stress, okay? But when you do that, the balance goes a bit out of sync. So it's really important to then get those 10 minutes of relaxation to just balance things back up again. And it's the same with the nutrition. You eat a lot of processed food, a lot of sugar, you're putting your body under nutritional stress. The balance goes, so you need to balance it back up again. So all I've done is just start introducing those little things like sitting by the river for 10 minutes and having my coffee and eating a few raw carrots. It's a bit more than that, but you know what I mean? And I can feel it. It's like, it's balancing everything out. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm starting to feel like me again. You know, and that is all this. Affecting that, and that affects that, and affects that. Because when we feel crap, it encourages us to do things that make us feel worse. So when we feel crap, it encourages us to eat unhealthy foods. We want to comfort eat, don't we? Whether it's chocolate cake or biscuits or alcohol, whatever. So when we feel crap, it encourages us to do things that make us feel worse. It encourages us to not go out and exercise and to sit on the sofa and watch a film instead. It maybe affects our sleep and doesn't help us sleep. That's huge, because then we get stuck back into this cycle, don't we? What you do determines how you feel more than how you feel determines what you do. So that comes down to this bit. What you do determines how you feel more than how you feel determines what you do. So when you're feeling low, when you're thinking negative thoughts, it's easier to change that cycle here. Go and do something different. Really powerful. And we can get into habits, and we're going to talk more about habits tonight. You can get into a habit of what you put in your search bar. You can get into a habit about behaviours that aren't helpful to you. You can get into a habit of these things not helping you. And changing that habit is hard. It is absolutely hard, but who's the one person that can do it?
You, me.
And that's really cool, isn't it? Because that means it's within your control. But knowing how to start changing it is the important bit. First thing I say is be aware. Knowing this stuff is a great first step. We'll talk more about the next bit of how tonight when we do habits. But as far as what we've done this morning goes, 2 things. And I'm all about keeping it simple, because I think keep it simple, you stand a chance of remembering it. First thing, consciously change what you're putting in your search bar. So today, you might have the habit and these negative thoughts automatically, subconsciously pop into your head. Okay, when that happens, George, I'm going to use you as an example again around the energy drinks. When you said, I have to have one before I can, right? You're putting that thought in your head and that's what you believe. Hey, thoughts aren't facts. So you have to consciously make the effort to take that thought out and put a different thought in. Okay? So that's step 1. But sometimes that is really hard to do. If the habit is really ingrained, it's hard to do. So if that's happening and you're struggling to do that, change it here. Go and do something different. Do something different, start to feel differently, and then you can start to have a bit more energy to change those thoughts. Anyone sort of had any light bulb moments with that?
Yeah.
I think my light bulb moment with that was actually only recently have I noticed that I've started doing some of that myself anyway. But seeing it written down on paper is like, okay, I'm
Brilliant.
heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Choice. They're probably the 2 words, that conscious, subconscious and choice, that we'll keep coming back to. You know, I was feeling pretty pants about going out for a run this morning, and then I spoke to George. George, you were bloody brilliant about like that discussion of, you know, actually, well, you can go out going, no, I really don't want to do this, or you can just go, I might enjoy it, you know, and actually I'm in a cool place and, you know, it's raining, but it's warm, and sometimes the best thing is when there's rain on your face. I'm just being open-minded to go and see, rather than going out telling myself it's going to be crap, because if I tell myself it's going to be crap, guess what it's going to be? Yeah. I can remember my coach when I was doing paracanoe had a huge influence on me, because he didn't get me. And I was getting into a really negative headspace, influencing me like this, and I was paddling like shit. And one of the other girls on the squad, she sent me the, who sings it? Rihanna, Ricochet, Bulletproof. And so she said, every time before you go into a session, play that to yourself. Think like you've got an armour on, and all his comments, you just let ricochet off you. So I did. I put my headphones on, walking down to every training session. That was what I put in my search bar. I'm just going to let them ricochet off me. But it's hard, because other people do massively influence this. But being aware that you are in control, it's bloody hard, and it's normal that they influence us. So that's the first table leg completed. I hope you found it useful. So your first task is to think about, where are you currently shining your spotlight? And is it helping you? With that in mind, where are you going to start shining your spotlight? Where are you going to stop shining your spotlight? And where would you like to continue shining your spotlight? In the table leg, we talked about how your thoughts affect how you feel and how you feel affect your thoughts. And your feel is affected by your environment. That's your nutrition, your sleep, movement, and relaxation. So thinking of those pillars around nutrition, sleep, movement, and relaxation, write down for each one what's working for you, what's not working for you, and what could you do differently.